bit of I'd like to give you a little bit of background on New Thought healing. We talked about it some when we were in lunch and lessons with Jan, but I'd like to tell you a little bit more that may not have been said yet. The New Thought component of healing can be traced back to Emerson, who really didn't talk about healing per se, but he did talk about the presence being everywhere and many other things that really are. And then we had Antoine Mesmer. Now, mesmer is where we get the word mesmerized, which was an early form of hypnotism. And his teaching was that as we quiet the conscious mind, the subconscious mind can reveal itself and align itself with healing. And that was how he saw healing happening. And next we had Phineas Quimby, who lived from 1802 to 1866. Quimby was originally a clockmaker, but he studied metaphysics, and he realized that we can use our mind to create healing. Now, one of his students was Mary Baker Eddy, who was the founder of Christian Science. And Christian Science is different from New Thought. They don't claim to be New Thought. And some of the differences in Christian Science and New Thought, one of the main differences is that Christian Science believes that medicine is not necessary, that we only need to use our mind and can create the healing. So it's very, I'm not, the word's not coming to me, it's very orthodox, I guess you could say, in that way. And in New Thought, we believe that it's all God, that God can work through medicine, through surgery, through procedures, as well as through our thought. And so we take advantage of everything that is healing, and we don't limit it to only mind healing. So when we do our treatment, we're open to the answer coming as inspiration to follow a certain direction or to see a certain doctor or to do a certain procedure. So we believe that is also the answer to treatment too, that we can be led or guided to the right experience, as well as just getting a healing. Now, in the beginning, the focus was more on physical healing, because in those earlier days, we didn't have medicine and operations and procedures developed to the point that they are now. So now we do treat for healing, but we also accept the fact that the healing can often come through antibiotics or other types of medicine. Um, Penicillin wasn't developed until less than 100 years ago. And so these people who are needing healings were active 200 years ago. And Myrtle Fillmore, who is the co-founder, well, actually, she was the one that got the message first, and she brought Charles in. She had tuberculosis. It was a family a generational disease. Her parents, her grandparents, lots of people had died of tuberculosis in her family. And she went to a lecture by a metaphysician named E.B. Wells. And that night that she heard the thought that she zeroed in on and that she focused on is I'm a child of God and I do not inherit sickness. So, in other words, her belief prior to that had been that she had inherited this disease from her parents. And as long as she was claiming that, that was her experience. But when she got it really clearly in her mind that God was her heavenly father, God was her father, and she didn't inherit illness from God. So that was her turning point in her healing. And it didn't happen overnight. She didn't get instantly healed just like that. It took 2 more years of her praying about it and focusing on it and working with it before she was completely healed of the tuberculosis. Now, Charles, her husband, had what we would call a lame hip. He had a skating accident as a child, and one of his legs was quite a bit shorter than the other one. And so after Myrtle began to demonstrate her healing and worked with people in prayer, he began to get interested in this. And so he began to follow what she was doing, and his leg began to lengthen, and he didn't limp as bad. Now, I don't know if he ever really was completely healed of his limp or if it just improved greatly. I'm not really sure. But anyway, he was convinced that healing is a real possibility through changing your thinking. And that was the beginning of the unity movement, which was based on healing. Um, so, unity began to grow as a movement, and it now has 1,300 acres, and it's dedicated to healing. If any of you have ever had the opportunity to go to Unity Village, you'll know
Yes.
a very large campus, and they have a part of it called Silent Unity. And Silent Unity is their prayer ministry, like our ministry of prayer through Science of Mind. So those are two very active things. So one of the things that Myrtle learned and taught is that as long as we hold a belief in our mind, we're going to experience things in alignment with that belief. So as long as we believe that we catch illness, that we catch colds, that we inherit illness, then that's going to be our experience. So as we begin to affirm and declare and claim that we are healthy, that our Heavenly Father has created us as healthy beings, and we can claim that we catch only health, we don't catch illness, then we begin to experience a change in our experience. So our goal, I guess we could call it, as metaphysicians, as students of New Thought, is to affirm and claim for ourselves the very highest and best, and not be stuck into the old thought patterns that most of the world believe in. Most of the world believe that if you get a cold, it's because you were out in the rain, or you didn't have your head covered properly, or you found somebody else that had a cold. But if we can look at that as a belief system and realize that we can change a belief, then we can change our experience of that. So
Hey, you
confronted
guys,
with an opportunity, true, and see if you can't begin to build a better health consciousness.
are you, you're fading, it's buffering. I don't know if that's you or not, you guys there.
Yeah, it was
It
buffering.
was a little bit.
What?
It happens. It was buffering a little, but it's better now.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's better. Although Glenda, they look frozen. Oh, there they are. Nope, I don't know.
You all look fine to me.
Can you,
You were fine there for a
did
minute.
someone have a comment? I couldn't tell.
Yeah, the Wi-Fi or the signal was buffering and we were having trouble hearing you.
I'm so sorry. I
What was
didn't
the
realize.
last part you heard?
Oh, it's just internet glitchy.
The last part I heard.
It's okay. go ahead and just continue. We'll just keep an eye on it.
Okay, just raise your hand or something if it does it again, and I'll know that that was where I need to start over again.
Okay, you sound good now. It's fine.
Good,
great. Thank you.
thanks. Okay,
Oh, we can
No.
see you now.
Sorry, I don't want that.
yeah,
Okay. I think we're all right. I do have a
Okay.
comment though, or
Okay.
a question.
Cassie has a comment or question.
And she's
So,
off camera.
So do we, how does Unity feel about, if is there ever a spiritual reason for an illness? Or like,
Mhm.
a lesson or something we need to experience?
Right. Anytime our body is showing forth any kind of illness, there's something at a deeper level that is affecting that.
Mhm.
So in other words, we're trying to get into alignment with the truth about who we are, and that starts on the inside and works its way out. And it works its way out to our body, which if you remember the symbol of science of mind, it's the V, the body's at the bottom. The body can be this body, or it can be the body of our affairs. It can be the body of our relationships. Anything like that can work out, but it starts inside. The belief is inside of
So
us.
do we need to find that belief?
We don't need to find
Okay.
it. That's one of the things that can really slow us down. If we think we always have to understand it, then we are limiting the power to work in us. So if we realize that the divine mind, the omniscient mind, knows whatever's happening and it can heal it, we don't have to understand it. It makes our healing a lot better, a lot faster, a lot quicker.
Like gravity and electricity, you don't really
Right.
understand gravity
But we
and
can do 'em,
electricity, but we know
yes.
how to use it.
That's right. So we know how to turn on the switch, but we don't have to know how it works, how the electricity works.
Sometimes with those kind of teachings, though, you get into like almost like a guilt or, you
Right.
know, you must not be.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's one of our new thought downfalls, I think, is that we can think if we're sick, it's because of failure at something. And that's not true. We're here in these human bodies experiencing life and learning to live life to the best of our ability. And being sick is part of the human condition at times. It doesn't mean it has to continue to be, but it certainly is a very strong belief. And so being able to counter a very strong belief takes a lot of work, a lot of time sometimes to develop consciousness. So our goal, I think, should just be to work toward improvement, to try to improve our health, improve
Mhm.
our immune system, improve our relationships, improve whatever might be going on in our lives. And we just take a step at a time and we don't condemn ourselves, because condemning ourselves or not showing ourselves grace is not going to help us at all, and it's going to actually hold us back. So any other comments on that subject?
I just, this is Debbie. I just wanted to say that there was a time, I believe it was in the 80s, Louise Hay had, I think she actually also became a CSL minister, but Louise Hay had written and published her own book called You Can Heal Your Life. And, you know, I mean, she had some really significant experiences, and they led her to put a lot of things together and really pull a lot of things together that were not so much new, but that just brought things into a very holistic place. And so anyway, this book, You Can Heal Your Life, she goes through lots of different things like, oh, if you have a sore throat, what are you not wanting to express? And you know, if you have a problem with your ears, what are you not wanting to hear? And I think there's value in it, but like
Mhm.
you said, I think it can really do a lot of damage, especially when people go looking it up and telling
Kind of
other
breaking up a
people,
little.
when they go looking it up and telling people, oh, I know what's wrong with you. And, you know, I mean, um, it is often said that disease is dis-ease, and I think there's truth to that. But again, it's personal, and it's really, I think, between each of us and spirit more than the analyticalness of books.
That's right. It's not something that we want to beat ourselves up about or place criticism or blame on somebody else. It's not about that. It's a very personal thing, like Debbie just said. And everybody's learning experience and learning curve looks a little different in that regard. And some people might have a very strong health consciousness, but might not have a good consciousness around um relationships.
She's frozen again.
Work or
It'll
Glenda?
unfreeze.
You guys, the sound.
creative expression. We're working each other a lot and not hold ourselves. What?
It'll come and go.
Is there,
Yeah.
what are
So
we doing with the,
intermittent
are we plugged in to the computer, to the Wi-Fi? Or are we on somebody, we are plugged in?
I can try and, hey Rose,
Yeah,
I can try and get on my hotspot again if you want to try that.
Yeah, let's try that.
Try the hotspot. We're gonna pause for a minute.
Yeah, hold
and
on
get
just a
the
second
hotspot.
and we'll be back. Hey, Rose, come on in. Rose just joined us.
Hi,
Hey,
Rose.
Rose.
Great.
So what's going on with our Wi-Fi? Because it's connected. What's going on that it's struggling?
That out. What Debbie told me to do was to connect to the hard wire, and that's what Cassie has done, and we
Yeah.
still.
Yeah,
I think
Cassie,
internet just gets flaky.
well, it shouldn't be.
good.
It shouldn't be. We're paying, we upgraded to make sure that we weren't, well, we're not losing our Wi-Fi, but it is having a buffering issue.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
yeah, so thanks.
We're
But
on the
yeah, it looks
hotspot.
like we were plugged in and it looked like it was on the right one.
Yeah.
But now we're on my hotspot, so we'll see if that works
Yeah.
any better.
Yeah, you sound fine now.
Okay, good.
Right.
We'll see. So
Yes.
you missed some
A
of
little
that I
tired.
just said?
Yeah, the last 20 seconds maybe.
Okay, what I was talking about.
Just move on, go.
Yeah.
We need to give ourselves grace and not blame ourselves. It's a new thought trap. It's like the joke about the mugger in Boulder, Colorado that said to his victim, "How did you create this?" You know, it's
Mhm.
fair to blame for somebody else for something that's going on because we're in it's a learning process. And being mindful of that all the time is the most respectful thing we can do for ourselves and each other. And I think that when people aren't feeling their best, they really need their spiritual community the most. But a lot of times they'll pull away
Right.
thinking that I should be in a better space. You know, if I were better at this, I would be. And that's really very unfair to ourselves to do that way. Okay, any more comments or questions about healing before we go to the next part of our activity?
Well, I found this teaching because I needed not a physical healing, but an emotional healing. Because I was going through what I was going through that most of you know, and it was being in this is what helped me. I didn't talk to a lot of people, but I did show up. But we had a very big audience when I started in Atlanta. There was thousands, well, at least 1,000. So we couldn't show up like we do here and see the new person and know it was a new person. I could sneak in, sit in the back and see what I liked and see what I heard. And I liked it, and I moved all the way to the front so I could hear more. But I really wasn't talking to anybody about anything that was going on because I needed out of this situation that was hurting me emotionally. So healing comes emotionally too, because it was going to affect my body, because it started to affect my body in some ways, whether I would start to itch or I needed to exercise a little more, so I had to do other things to help my healing So I didn't end up with other illnesses that made it physical.
That's right, very true. Okay, so Nisi's brought up a very good point. I think we have another person joining us.
Craig,
Looks
come
like
in.
Craig's coming.
Craig's coming in.
Hey Craig,
Hey, Craig,
come on in.
come sit behind us so they can see
Hey,
you.
Craig.
Or over here. Well, we want.
Yeah,
we
we-
want you to
we-
see it.
we want you to be in the
Yeah,
picture.
Right there.
Okay.
Hi, Craig.
Hi. Oh my goodness.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay.
So
There he is. You can see
we
Craig.
have Denise, Jackie, Debbie, and Annie Mac.
And we
Okay,
got
how-
male energy. Yay!
Yes. So, so as Nisi just mentioned, emotional healing is a very big part of our teaching now. Most of us, when we get sick, we would go to the doctor for an antibiotic and maybe think about doing treatment later. But emotional healing is something that is always available to us. And we might get directed to go to a counselor, to read a book, to do something else to get ideas. But emotional healing is a very big part of our ministry. And so we certainly hope on the ministry of prayer that if you have any needs that we could treat for you to help you to realize, like we say on Sunday mornings, welcome to this hour of remembering and celebrating the truth of who we really are, because that realization of who we are, divine expressions, is what brings about the healing. And we have to not only remember it, but focus on it and acknowledge it and speak our word for that. So if we're going around saying, I'm so sick, I feel, I've got this terrible cold, and we keep complaining about it all the time and talking about it, it is affirming the wrong thing. So we might be feeling bad, but the truth is that we are healthy at the core of our being. It's just not expressing fully in us right now. So watch your words so that whatever you're claiming is what you really want to be experiencing. Now, the next part of the activity that I would like to introduce you to, I have a little set of cards. They're called healing cards, and there are questions here. And so I thought we could go around and answer the question. And if you don't want to answer it, you're welcome to say pass. That's just fine. So I'll let Cassie choose the first one. You want to read it to us?
Debbie Nelson. Debbie Hazelton.
Okay, here's
Mhm.
the
What are you currently healing from that others don't see?
what are you currently healing from that others don't see?
This is my question to answer.
Or is it
Well,
everybody?
we're all going to go around and
Oh,
answer it. Yeah.
Everybody's gonna answer it?
Mhm. But would you like to start?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think I've talked about it probably too much, but I do have a nerve condition, or I had a nerve condition that was extremely painful, that was very concerning. And I actually have not had any pain, not even the slightest hint of pain, since about December, which is the longest I've ever gone without, I mean, in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Well, so that's, I'm really excited about that.
Very good, very
Yeah.
good. And she's also following good habits, health habits that she's learned are helpful to her. She's not violating those. So when we get information that contributes to our healing, our responsibility is to follow that guidance.
Yeah.
And I know that she is doing that. Would someone else like to respond? Maybe one of our Facebook, our Zoom friends? Debbie, would you like to respond?
Well, in the last few weeks, I got two opinions on it, and I am dealing with a mild to moderate hearing loss. And I never thought it would happen, because I still feel like, even without doing anything about it, like I hear better than a lot of people around me. but I could tell little things were happening, especially with my students. You know, I'd be standing up there and I'd hear these little voices going, blah, 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 blah. I go, what did you say? You know, but anyway, it was brought to my attention when I went for training with my last dog that it might be something I wanted, I'd want to look into. And it's a frequency issue. Like some things at certain frequencies are easier and some are not. But anyway, I'm wearing hearing aids and they're fine. I mean, it's just taking a little bit to get used to, especially when I'm walking around, getting kind of like a new, it's like getting a different depth perception, or like if somebody suddenly saw differently and had to deal with depth perception, the hearing in some ways, everything is sort of this, it changes my sense of space a little bit. But I've got a great practitioner, an audiologist, and got the support and the financial way to get them. And so I'm really doing fine with it. So I'm really appreciative. It's a smooth transition. I didn't miss a day of wearing them or going to teach or anything. So I'm really happy about that.
Excellent. Thank you, Debbie. Janine, would you like to go next?
I mean, I think I've talked to all of you, you know, some of you about these issues. I still have ongoing addiction issues, sometimes with smoking. Sometimes I feel like I'm drinking too much. I mean, not major, but it's something I'm still dealing with.
Right. Okay. We support you in all that. Jackie, would you like to tell us something that you may be dealing with that we can't see?
Um, First, I just have to tell you, there's another hummingbird sighting. I'm watching him out the window, or he was
Oh,
here, so
sweet.
they're back, or at least the scout is back. Well, most of you all know that I'm really going through a tough time with depression, and the results of the election have really affected me in a catastrophic way. So I can work through some of the stuff that I'm dealing with as far as the emotional stuff. There was a point where I actually had to shut down from trying to work at it because all I felt was failure.
Oh,
And so I had to stop that. And I'm starting to feel a little better as far as coming out of that spiral that I was in. But the catastrophic situation with the election, it's still a real concern for me. So, but most of you kind of have been around me and know this, so, and thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you for sharing. And Annie Mac, would you like to say something that might be going on for you that we can't see?
Have I'm eating, so sorry, I'm chewing. I have an ongoing issue with a crazy bipolar neighbor right now, and emotionally, it really uh, it's created a situation. He's playing a game with like 6 cameras pointed at my property and you know, tearing things down that are on my side of the property line and stuff like that, just stupid petty crap. And my initial response was resistance, so I put up things along the property line to keep him from being able to see across, and he raised the cameras. And I did a variety of things like that, you know. and
Gosh.
and it's gone on for years, several years now. So it's really frustrating, it's aggravating. He's bipolar, and he's 74, I believe now. He's very overweight, and he's a lawyer. So he knows how to tread the very edge of illegality. He's gone over it. He tore down prayer flags that I had hanging on the property line to block cameras. So yeah, it's just been going on and on and on. And I went off on him. He had a worker that went off on me a couple of weeks ago, and I went off on them. Uh, and it was not pretty. And we've been filming each other, and I've been videoing it on my camera and all of this
Aw.
stupid stuff. And it's just, yeah, it's been going on and on and on. Well, I I have a behavioral person who, and the law enforcement, I've filed several reports on him, and law enforcement is like, just don't engage. Behavioral, my counselor guy is like, don't engage. It's not healthy, so I try not to do that until they're right up in my face on my property line cutting things. And so it got really bad a couple weeks ago. Well, I finally, my thoughts were, there is someone else I want to be. I did not volunteer for this. I did not ask him to put 7, 9 cameras, whatever. He moves them all the time, so you can't tell how many are there. I didn't ask for all the blinding lights in my face. I didn't ask for all of this nasty behavior. And he's just, and then he lies to the neighbors too. So it's just like, it's an ongoing bull crap. So I finally just decided, I was driving to the beach last weekend, and I was just like, there is someone else I want to be. I don't know how to do this. And it just came to me all of a sudden that it was like, I need to stop resisting. I need to stop this. It's hurting me to resist this. So I finally got to the point where last week, my friend of mine pulled down stuff that I had hung up on the property line, which wasn't doing any good anyway, because he just raised the cameras over the things that I put on the property line.
Yeah.
So
So
I'm
crazy.
Yeah, he's crazy. So anyway, literally,
Yeah.
certifiable, like say Baker Act, and he scurries inside, So anyway, it's a horrible situation, and I'm not going to sell this place. I'm not moving. I may take off for the beach again for a little while longer, which means taking money out of my retirement stuff, which fortunately is doing okay right now. But I just emotionally realized suddenly that I need to be the person who just no, I'm not playing this game anymore. I'm
Want
not gonna
healing.
do it. Yeah. So healing, as far as healing
Towards
is
that,
concerned,
and
sorry, I'm putting myself on this.
yeah.
Um, as far as healing is concerned, that was a healing for me to get to that point of, I'm done. I'm not playing anymore. He wins the crazy game. I'm
Yeah.
not going to resist it anymore.
About that. You got a new thought about that. You changed your mind about what you were going.
Yeah.
So thank you. We support you in that. Thank you, Annie Mac. Okay, let's see. We've got all the Zoom people. Now we're going to go to the live people. Okay, Rose, let's hear anything that's going on for you that we can't see or know about.
Well, I have continued to struggle with what is called persistent AFib, and so I go this coming Thursday, or tomorrow, to find out what the next treatment options are for that, and I, that's certainly one thing that people don't necessarily see, but it affects my affects a lot of things in the way I feel and even my balance and stuff. So, but I that's the main thing that I am continuing to heal
Wow.
from.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go to Craig and then Lisa and then me. Okay. Craig, is there something that let me read the question again. What are you currently healing from that others don't see?
Well, it's not clear. I'm not really clear. My left eye is dry macular degeneration. And,
Can you all hear him okay? He's
No.
I
saying-
didn't hear that.
my left eye has dry macular degeneration and it's fuzzy, so that's what I
Mm.
And, there's the Monroe Institute and the Gateway Experience exercise, sound exercises. They have one on patterning to change behaviors, which is actually pretty effective. And it's about an hour long. And Lynn McTaggart has the Power of Eight groups, like groups of eight,
Mhm.
and to send healing to members of the group. And we're a group of eight.
I'm looking at that.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Oh,
Actually,
wait,
are we?
1, 2, 3,
Yeah.
5, 6,
5, 1,
5 online.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, we have
Enough.
an extra. Yeah, we have enough. Okay,
Somebody's not
thanks,
getting
Craig.
it.
Okay,
you.
Nisi.
Physically, I'm on vitamin D all of a sudden. I hadn't been on that. I remember being on it during COVID because I wasn't getting enough sunlight. And I can tell, I couldn't tell what it was. You don't know what you're deficient in until you go get work in, blood work done. And the other thing would be the loss of a loved one from my childhood that gave me my freedom. And she made her transition and what her children are going through. Kind of emotional.
Okay, and I'll be the last one on this question. What I'm healing from that people don't see is the first year after Marvin passed, most people expect would be the hardest, but I was still in a state of shock. I was just sleepwalking. And the second year has been harder for me than the first year. So a lot of people don't know that, if I haven't talked to them about it. So everything is hitting me a lot harder this year than it did the first year. So that's what we see that each of us, whether we see it or not, have something that we're working on, something that's disturbing us in some way. And so getting back to the idea that as we recognize God as our healing presence, as our healing source, everything can be healed. So even when it comes to political things, it depends on what we're putting first place in our life. Are we putting the politicians that we don't agree with as more powerful than spirit? Or are we realizing that spirit has ways to do things that we don't even understand or know about? And as we develop that closer relationship with spirit, we can deal with things that we never thought we could, whether they're emotional or relationship wise or financial, anything at all can be healed by a closer relationship with spirit. So I would remind us each one to continue to lean into that as our closeness. And for me, I'm certainly finding that as I remember that there is no death, there's just a changing of form, then that is certainly very healing for me. And I'm continuing to work on that. So, okay, let's see, we'll draw another question. Nisi, would you like to draw one? You want to read it?
Before you start, do we still want it to be recorded?
I was wondering.
Why
too,
don't we pause?
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
What's something you can say no to this week to prioritize your mental health? What's something you can say yes to?